Thank you for tuning in to Saturdays with Senior Talk. Our special guest today is Chicago Commons, who will be joining us for the next upcoming weeks talking about their great services that they provide. Now, on today, we have a special guest, Mr. Terence Sims. He's Vice President of Senior Services at Chicago Commons. How are you this beautiful day, Mr. Sims?
I'm very blessed. How are you?
I am fantastic. Well, we're so excited that you are joining us, and thank you so much for just the work that is done over 132 years. That's a young age for such a vibrant company of Chicago Commons. Tell us more about it.
Well, Chicago Commons, its mission is to empower individuals, families, and communities to overcome poverty and systemic barriers to success, embrace opportunities, and thrive across generations. And how we do that is we've identified 3 programs: early childhood education, which is Head Start, which starts from the age of like 6 weeks and up to early elementary ages. We also have a Family Hub, which is kind of like a case management wraparound program that helps and strengthens families to become more stable and self-sufficient. It consists of job readiness, financial literacy, digital literacy, health and wellness workshops, and, of course, senior services, which comprises of home care and adult day services, which is the goal is to help seniors maintain independence, health, quality of life, and aging in place.
Well, you are on my street. Those are my favorite terms, aging in place and quality of life. I'm so excited to hear that. Now, you mentioned the term adult day services. Some of our listening audience may not be familiar with that term. Can you explain what adult day services means?
Sure. So adult day services, by, I guess, a technical definition, would be a supervised and structured program that provides care and activities for older adults and adults with disabilities. A lot of our seniors, older adults, may have physical, cognitive, and health-related needs. They live at home, but they benefit from daytime support in a community setting, which actually provides relief to their family members that are typically their caregivers. Mm-hmm. We also focus on ADS, we focus on cognitive and mental activities, which would comprise of memory games, puzzles, arts, crafts, music therapy and singing, physical activities, light exercise, stretching, walking, social and recreational activities such as group outings, celebration of birthdays and holidays, cultural events and theme days, in addition to daily living and wellness is what we focus on at ADS.
You know, I love the term adult day services, and I'm glad you were very thorough in your explanation, because I believe that sometimes adult day services could take the place of nursing homes sometimes. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. It allows someone to become still active and engage with their other peers, and it allows them to, as you mentioned, have all those activities. And it's sort of maybe sometimes could be, as the term, respite for the family member who's the caregiver at home, but they're still being engaged and being cared for. What are your thoughts on that?
So I'm glad you brought that up. So if I, along that same stream of thinking since you started it, let's debunk some misconceptions about adult day services, mm-hmm. right? So those who aren't, well, I did give an explanation of what it is, but those who may have a misconception, some misconceptions could be it's only for people who are very ill or disabled, which right. is not true. There are some that are disabled that may have some cognitive issues, but it's a wide range of ages too. It's not just people 65 and older. We do have some of our participants who are in their late 20s, early 30s as well, that may be disabled or have some cognitive dysfunction. Also, another misconception is that this means that the family isn't taking good care of their loved ones, which is absolutely not true. We're here to support, not to replace family mm-hmm. members. Some people may think, oh, they're just babysitting. No, like I mentioned previously, we have structured activities, health monitoring, meals, social engagement. We have 2 LPNs that are on site at all times, and we have an RN that oversees and ensures that everything that the health monitoring is taking place, medications are being administered as needed. Another misconception, participants just sit around all day. No, we exercise, we have games, we have music, we have outings, we have group interactions. And then one thing that's probably a little more personal, because before participants come to us, family members may have potential bias because they may not be fully educated on what we do. And so there may be some apprehension. But once clients actually get in, there may be an initial adjustment because they're getting familiar with the new environment, seeing a new variation. But however, more times than not, our participants really enjoy the routine and the variations and participating day to day.
You have done a great job of explaining that. And I think it's so important because years ago, the previous Surgeon General said that isolation is almost considered a disease now. Without people having engagement, their activity may become deteriorated or just become isolated, not having any activity with their other peers. And so you have hit it on the nail. The engagement is where it's at. So let me ask you this. This is something that I just came up with. Do you have male LPNs?
The LPNs that are on site right now are not males.
Okay.
However, yeah, they're not males.
Okay. And I just asked that because I was watching some shows and they were talking about males who are caregivers and how their quality of care is just a little bit different, and they come in with a different mindset, than the other LPNs. No disrespect to who's giving the service, but it was just a question. So let me ask you this. You have multiple locations, or where are you located?
So we're located on 50th Street, 515 East 50th Street, right next to Providence Hospital. Mm-hmm. That's the main office. That's the headquarters in which home care services are housed, and also ADS. Okay. So I appreciate what you're sharing. So adult day service can be found in Brownsville. Is that correct? That is correct. Okay. That's good news. So what does it mean to you to know that you have this quality of care that you're providing to persons who need it, and what does it make you feel like? What are the testimonies that you can share of you being there? I'll give a little of my own personal testimony. So I'm a firm believer that we all share one common divine purpose in life, and that is to improve the human capacity in any condition, whether that's on a micro or macro level. I'm a firm believer that, contrary to popular belief, that this lifetime is not all about just us, but what we do for others that matters the most. And so with that being said, I've worked with many vulnerable populations, from older adults to homeless to domestic violence to at-risk youth to people with disabilities. And so I take what we do, and here at Chicago Commons, we take what we do very personal because we're mission and value driven. We look at the whole person. It's person-centered, it's dignity-centered. We prioritize dignity, respect, relationships. Our care plans look at the whole person, physically, emotionally, intellectually, their social needs. And seniors are active participants. They're not just recipients of care. Mm-hmm. We're community-centered, building strong families and communities across generations. We're relationship-centered, emphasis on trust and social connection, reducing isolation. And then historically, Chicago Commons has served underserved communities in Chicago, focusing on reducing barriers to access and success. And we're inclusive and culturally responsive. And so if you've ever had a grandmother or older adult in the family, I have been blessed to have 3 grandmothers and 2 great-grandmothers. And having seen them age to that point of 85, 90, almost 100 years old, you see how much of a blessing it is to be in that state. But, they say once a child, twice an adult. And so being there for your family member, being able to age in place, being able to be a community that embraces your family as though they're their loved ones as well. Blood makes you related, but loyalty makes you family. And so here with our mission, we truly believe that everyone is like family, and we treat them as such. As much as that may sound like a cliche, my own personal testimony from my experience in this community, having grown up in Chicago, I understand the landscape. We understand the community. The pillars of the community are the churches, are the people, are the politicians, are the community leaders. All of us play a part in all of this, and our seniors are very critical to our success of how we continue on with our programs and our services that we provide for our seniors. Well, very well said. I'm saying to myself, I got to find some persons who can use the service that you provide. And the thing that we're working on is the quality of care and the independence as long as possible. And the engagement is a high factor. You have done a great job. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back and talk about how family members can be trained and paid to be caregivers. Excuse me. We'll be right back here, Saturdays with Senior Talk, with our guest, Chicago Commons, Mr. Tim Sims. Everyone stay tuned.
My grandmother, she was originally with another program. They ended and sent us a list. And at the top of the list was Chicago Commons. And I heard great things about Chicago Commons from my home care worker at that time. She is always happy when she's here. The people here love my grandmother. They remember their birthdays, they celebrate them, they treat them with reverence. With dementia, patients, you sometimes have a worry that they'll wander outside or they'll wander away. You won't know it. She's 90 years old at this time. So if she starts to wobble or she needs some help getting back and forth to the room, someone is there. So that gives me a nice peace of mind. She gets up in the morning and she just looks forward to going to be social. That's how it is with Chicago Commons, part of the family.
Welcome back to Saturdays with Senior Talk here on WVON 1690 AM. Today our special guest is Mr. Terence Sims, Vice President of Senior Services at Chicago Commons. As we were talking previously, he mentioned the richness and the wealth of Chicago Commons. Now we're going to talk about there are many family members who are caregivers who are unpaid. And caregivers, if you are tuning in and listening in, we salute you and we thank you so much. But we want to talk about now how you could be trained to be a caregiver for your loved one. So tell us how they can do that through Chicago Commons, if you would.
So, I mean, like any other position, you apply online. We have an onboarding process. There is a criteria. We do a background check and, all the formalities that come with the requirements to be a home care aide. But, there are about 60% of our client population, at least in home care, that are preferred family workers, whether they're actually blood related or a cousin or a neighbor or a friend. We call them preferred workers.
That's right.
So as long as you qualify, you do the onboarding process, you clear the background check, everything checks out, you go through a 24-hour in-service training, which is 3 days, 8 hours each day, typically like a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which is paid. Once you complete that, you're ready to start working.
Well, let me ask you, what are the qualifications that make a good caregiver?
You know what? That's a great question, Clara, because, we can have a list like any job description, right? You talk about the responsibilities of the job, but I'll tell you what I look for, and I express this across the board at any venue or any place that I actually talk about caregiver and caregivers, is that everybody doesn't need to do this work. When I think about a caregiver, I think about an individual that has character, that has personality, that understands how to really take care of an individual mentally, physically, emotionally, because it's one thing to have a care plan, right? Our care plans for home care services, you cook, you clean, it's daily living activities, cook, clean, mopping, running errands, things like that. But it takes more of a person to understand another person. It's one thing to be a paid family caregiver who knows that individual, because caregivers come to me and say, oh, I can do this work, I took care of my mother. But that's something completely different from taking care of a stranger that may have some health diagnosis that you may or may not be used to. And so obviously we train our caregivers to prepare them for the type of clientele that we actually do have. Mm-hmm. So, again, everybody doesn't need to do this work. You have to have compassion, integrity, respect, dignity, socialization skills, personal skills. And so I think those are critical to our success. And then you have to really understand, is this something that you actually want to do? I mean, we all have had jobs probably at some point where it was a means to an end, but we're dealing with human lives on a day-to-day basis. And one thing about our clients is that sometimes our caregivers are the only person that those clients actually see, because they don't have family members that come and visit them. Their family members may live in other states. So there may be situations where caregivers actually do become family to these clients, that they don't see anybody else at all for, months and weeks other than those caregivers. So they really have to understand the impact, the positive impact that they can have on a person's life, not just providing them with the home care services, but being present and having a sense of companionship when they interact with those clients.
Well, you have been awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I can tell you, it is a test. Some people would try to choose their loved ones. Sometimes your loved one may not be the best person to provide you with the quality of care. So we want you to do one thing, and that is call some experts. So how can they get in touch with Chicago Commons, please? Give us the phone number and website for more information.
Sure. You can call us at 773-373-5055 or reach us on the web at www.chicagocommons.com.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Mr. Sims. We're going to come back next week on Saturday, and we're going to dive more into caregiving as a career. What does it involve, and how do you get started? We want to really bring caregiving to a forefront, and we looking forward to Chicago Commons being that vehicle. Thank you again, Mr. Sims. Have a great day. Enjoy this beautiful day.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Stay blessed.
It's my pleasure. All right, everyone, you've been tuning in to Saturdays with Senior Talk. Our special guest was Mr. Terence Sims of Chicago Commons. He'll be coming back next week. And as I mentioned, we're going to talk about caregiving as a career. What does it mean to get started? Do you have the qualifications? Do I have the patience? And we're going to walk you through that process. Thank you all for tuning in for Saturdays with Senior Talk. We appreciate you and hope we started your day. Don't forget to join us next Saturday at 7 a.m. here at WVON, the Talk of Chicago. If you want more information, please visit our website, seniortalkmedia.com. Everyone take care and have a great day.